Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like a stand-up comic standing here with this mic and in this venue. Ben asked me to talk about my map-making process, and the more I thought about it, the more I realised that I infuse my maps with nostalgia, my own personal nostalgia. So I'm going to talk a bit about some maps I've created and how my background and my life influenced them. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Liam Mason. I work for Marine Scotland, which is part of the Scottish Government. On paper, my job title is GIS Analyst. I cover a broad range of spatial analysis, cartography, data viz. I am not a geographer by qualification. I am not a cartographer by qualification. I'm a marine biologist, but these are my passions, and I've learned as I went along. And it would be remiss of me not to tout our open data network. And for those of you at Phosphor G on Friday, I will be talking about it then, but you can ask me more in the fringes. I was tempted, went to demographic vote, and there was 100% people wanted to see my holiday photos from Croatia. I haven't gone for that, but what I have got is a bit of a holiday theme throughout the tops. So I have a bit of obsession with Isle of Rum, not because it's named after an alcoholic drink, but I genuinely think it looks like Isla Nublar from Jurassic Park. Like, if you look at maps of it, turn it 90 degrees, it's almost identical. And if you've ever seen it, it's like a properly prehistoric island. It's fantastic. So I came up with an imaginary Jurassic Rum, if John Hammond had created it there, and picked some dinosaurs fossils that were found around the UK. But I had to go and visit Rum, right? And sure, there you go. For those of you following me Twitter, yes, my little Lego figure follows me everywhere. And yes, I went and visited, and I tracked everything that I did using a watch. And I wanted to put all the tracks of my runs, my walks, my swims on something really cool. And I wanted a map that captured a sense of adventure. And I thought back to my youth, and the first map that really captured my attention. And again, I'm a massive Zelda nerd, okay? So, Link to the Past, the map of Hyrule. Now, I didn't think I could do a nice sort of pseudo 3D isometric justice. However, those of you that played the most recent Zelda game, it is a fantastic map. It's got some really nice cartography that you can actually read. And it also has this nice hero's path. And I thought, here, I can emulate that. In fact, I already had. Following a talk last year with John Nelson at the Esri conference, who talked about mapping and nostalgia. And I was very lucky because some kind person's already created a web map. So I had all the colours. I had the hypsometric tints, I had the colours of the roads. I could steal them really easily. I wasn't going to have to take photos of my telly and try and interpret it. And I had all sorts of other data. So I had the Copernicus DEM, and a shout out to Alistair Ray for telling me about that. So I could create the colours from that. I could create house shades from it. I could derive contours. And then for the roads and things like that, I've got the OS Open Zoom Stack, which is a fantastic product. Won an award at a BCS conference last week. I had some points of interest. Unfortunately, the SVG symbol library is offline now, but some kind person went and recreated all the symbols from all the Zelda games online for a while. There's quite a fan community. There's various fonts, and if you've looked at a lot of my maps, I use blends and outer glows a huge amount, possibly too much. But this was my first iteration last year of Scotland in the style of Breath of the Wild. Very little data in it, it's just the Copernicus DEM, the highest points of local authorities, and some prehistoric cairn data that I took from HES. But that was my first attempt. And yeah, so that is my summer holiday on the Isle of Rum. We did not cover most of the island because it rained solidly for 2 days. But yeah, I found the highest points, so I think that definitely counts as a win. So there are some examples of nice SVG symbols, and there is actually a castle on Rum, be it a factory with some turrets, but there is called a castle. And you can see some of the blend techniques I've used there to show where we walked and cycled more than others. And yeah, you can see there, I made it to the very top, highest peak of Baskerville. There is not a tower on the top of Baskerville, but it is a hard scramble at times. The difference between when I created this map and the original is that, for those of you who might follow Charlie Glynn on Twitter, he shares a lot of Hillshades, and he's a fellow Hillshade fan. So anytime he comes up with a new technique, I have to try it myself. I still haven't got that shadow algorithm to work because it looks fantastic. But those of you that know me know that most of my mapping is on the sea, and that is where I have spent a lot of the time trying various Hillshades, literally to try and shine a light on the sea mounts and the features, especially off the west coast of Scotland, these giant mountains under the sea that we don't know a huge amount about. And as I spoke about last week, the Cartopper's Desert, the endless blue that you see on Google Maps and all these other things that hide these cool features. So I had data, I had the JebCo data, I've got the eModNet data, a good source of bathymetry data kicking around, great source of cartographic palettes all over the place, CPT City, I use that a huge amount, and lovely terrain colours for Scotland. Wasn't so keen on the bathymetry colours though, it's a bit too wishy-washy, washed out for me. So I thought back to another holiday. It's a place very close to my heart, which is Melvick. First place I ever went on holiday. Holidayed there all my childhood. Was really lucky to work there as a student for 5 years. And I took a photo and I derived a colour palette from it using the CSS Drive colour palette generator. And I standardised the lightness and the curve using the ChromaJS palette helper. And I derived what I call the Melvick colour palette. And I use that in a lot of bathymetry. And so for me that's nostalgia, that's my, getting back to my roots of the place I learned to snorkel and the place that I fell in love with the sea. And I'd also read John Nelson's blog about the Imhoff style, and for me I thought that's a great way of shining a light on certain angles, and I can try and use that with my bathymetry. That's the final product. As it stands, it's still very much a work in progress. And the only reason I've concluded this screenshot is it's simply two DEMs with lots of Hillshades. That's all it is. Some hypsometric tinting based on the Melvick colours, altering Z factors for land and at sea. The sea has a much higher Z factor than the land. And I've added a blue tint which lightened it as well. That's probably my most liked tweet on Twitter, so I'm really chuffed about that. I just need to make a nice final product out of it. But they're not the only maps it's when I realised that are influenced by my nostalgia. So that's it, I'll review again. That's my childhood village off the Tool and Fife, and I mapped everywhere that was special to me as a kid. That was like one of my first personal projects, and how far I walked from my house around to various places. And it was based on a report that like generations get shorter and shorter distances from home. So kids today barely get to the end of the street, and I walked a mile away unsupervised all the time. Probably almost getting knocked down by combine harvesters and all sorts of other things, but there we are. And yes, I'm also a Marvel nerd, and so I had to map all the locations that featured in Infinity War. But for me, actually, it's not the super colourful Marvel comics that really influenced that map. The style was stolen from Stephen King here tonight. It was more reading Nerd Woolley when I was a kid, where I've got the black and white scheme from. And I've been really geeky. That issue of X-Men actually does feature a very stylised Edinburgh, including Wolverine climbing up Edinburgh Rock. I don't know many red line pubs in Scotland, but according to Marvel, there's lots. And yeah, finally, so this one might not have, you might not think there's much nostalgia in this. This is fisheries, so it's very much my work. But It does. It took me a little while to realise. So the dark bathymetry scheme, I kind of borrowed, stolen, adapted from Alistair Ray. But the colours is actually one of the Verdis family. I think it's Inferno. And the more I looked at it, the more I realised it's like heavily influenced by my love of cyberpunk and bands like Gunship and sort of 80s nostalgia. And even the fact that I've converted what is a grid into a square point to make it look 8-bit just kind of underlines how 80s I wanted that map to look. So yeah, that is me. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to take them now or take them at the end or when we change over. But yeah, thanks a lot for listening.